Hello enthusiasts and welcome to this new video from the website www.moonwatch.fr. Today I present to you one of my horological grails, a watch that I have searched for a very long time and that I finally own, so I am very happy to be able to present it to you. It is the Rolex GMT Master II, reference 16710. The Swiss watch Rolex GMT Master II is simply the most iconic travel watch. Long overshadowed by the Rolex Submariner and the Rolex Daytona, the GMT Master collection is now captivating, and it is relatively complex to acquire a new one. It all starts with a request from the former airline, Pan Am, which wanted a pilot's watch that was both readable and had a second time zone. Thus, a watch that had to be usable by transatlantic flight pilots. The Rolex manufacturer then offered Pan Am an automatic watch, the GMT Master, which was designed in 1954. From there, many variations would be produced. In 1954, the first Rolex GMT Master bore the reference 6542. The timepiece featured a bakelite bezel, but it was quickly replaced after 2 years, I believe, by an aluminum bezel. Indeed, the bakelite cracked very easily, and as a result, it caused some issues. On this 6542 version, the case did not have a crown guard, so the crown was directly on the case without any protection. This reference would be produced until 1959. Then came the reference 675, which would be produced until 1980. Until the late 60s, the GMT hand would be a small hand with a small triangle. This small triangle, this specific hand, the small end, as they call it, the small GMT end, would be replaced at the end of the 60s by a larger hand, the one we know today, with a slightly larger triangle. Personally, I love the small hand. If I could have, I would have preferred to have a 1675, of course, with the small hand, but well, the codes are just incredible, and as a result, it wasn't possible. But I am still very happy to have this GMT Master 16710. Then, in the 1980s, the model evolved again with the reference 16750, which no longer features a matte dial, but a glossy one. This Rolex GMT Master also uses a new caliber, the 3075. It's a model that was manufactured until 1988. And we can also add that it's a model highly sought after by fans. The 16750 is highly sought after in the Rolex community. Then comes the 16760, the Rolex GMT Master II. Also known as the Fat Lady, the 16760, the Fat Lady, which will be a major evolution of the range. From now on, it will be possible to read the time in 3 different time zones. The case is slightly thicker, hence the name Fat Lady. And the crown guards are also thicker. This model, by the way, the Fat Lady model, the 16760, was only offered with one insert. Red and black bezel, somewhat the same style of insert as that of the 16-710. Finally, in 1989, we will find the references 7700 and 16710. Initially, the dials still used tritium. This is actually the case with my model, the Swiss T less than 25, but the tritium was later replaced by Luminova around the end of 1997. There is an excellent article on Fratello Watch. I invite you to go read it, where it traces the entire history of the Rolex GMT Master. Here, of course, I've given you a brief summary with the important milestones. Obviously, the GMT Master saga. And it is just incredible, especially since I haven't talked to you at all about the current references, with ceramic bezels and all. So don't hesitate to check out Fratello Watch on moonwatch.fr on our article about this. 710. I'll provide the link. Let's now move on to the technical specifications of this Rolex GMT Master II. So it's a watch. The watch I'm presenting to you today is from 1997, so it's a U series. It's more of a men's watch with a steel case. It is equipped with the Rolex caliber 3D185, which has 31 jewels and oscillates at 28,800 beats per hour. The power reserve is excellent, 50 hours, and the water resistance is quite adequate at 100 meters. It features a bidirectional bezel with 120 clicks, so that's also very, very high quality. We'll talk about it a bit later. There's a screw-down crown, and it's signed. The glass is sapphire, without any anti-reflective coating, as is often the case with Rolex. In terms of dimensions, it's 40 millimeters in diameter and 12.4 millimeters thick. The bracelet that comes with this watch is an oyster bracelet from Rolex with a 20 millimeter lug width. The reference is 710, 6710, and it features two complications: the date at 3 o'clock and the second time zone with the independent GMT hand. Now let's talk about the case, the bezel, and the crown. First of all, the case of the Rolex GMT Master 16710 is made of steel and measures 40 meters in diameter and 12.4 millimeters in thickness. So we have a watch size with complications that will suit the majority of men. The model presented here is a U series and features drilled lugs. So these drilled lugs, it's something I find very aesthetic. I think it gives a vintage look. It's very pretty. It's very harmonious on the case, the drilled lugs, and I find it's a shame that on the current references Rolex no longer offers it and we have solid lugs. I find it less attractive. But that's my personal opinion. Feel free to leave a comment. What do you think? Do you prefer drilled lugs or not on Rolex references? Next, we have a bidirectional bezel with 120 clicks. So the bezel is red and black, so it's the model we usually call. Hull. So red and black, it's an aluminum bezel. And we noticed that it has developed a certain patina, especially the red color. Red, which seems a little faded. Personally, I love it. That's why. I absolutely wanted this model. I didn't want a Pepsi because the blue and red, I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me. I got tired of it. I absolutely wanted a Coke. And here, with this patina on the red and even a little on the black, I really like it. I really do. On this bezel, we find the even hours inscribed and dots for the odd hours. It should also be noted that the bezel uses a serif font. Now, you can recognize this font, especially you would need a magnifying glass on the ends of the strokes, which are a little ornate. So it's very nice. It's a detail, but it's very, very, very pleasant. The 120 clicks ensure a very smooth use of the bezel. It's really a pleasure to use this bezel. It's Rolex. It's very, very well finished. Nothing to say on that front. It's truly fine craftsmanship. Next, we have a screw-down crown. It is signed with the small Rolex crown. So the crown has the particularity of being very, very thin, not very thick. I don't know the diameter. I would say it must be maybe 5. But it has an excellent grip. It allows you to set, of course, the time zone and the date. Finally, I'll show you we find a solid case back, so without any inscriptions. It is screwed down and ensures water resistance up to 100 meters. Regarding the dials, hands and glass, first the dial of this GMT Master 16710 is black, shiny, with circled indexes covered in tritium. The tritium hasn't developed much patina, so I compared it to other models available for sale on Pono24, eBay, etc. And it's true that either you get an eggshell patina or the indexes don't necessarily change. I think it might be related perhaps to the preservation of the watch, to the way it has been used. So well, in any case, it remains very, very beautiful. At 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock, there are rectangular indexes, and at noon, a triangular index. Under 12 o'clock, you can read Rolex Master Perpetual Depth with the small crown, and above 6 o'clock, you can read GMT Master II Superlative Chronometer. Officially certified. So it's very verbose in this goat frame. Alexi. But it doesn't shock, really, in any case, it doesn't shock me. I find that it's quite homogeneous nonetheless. Concern for there, we find the Swiss T less than 25 to specify that it's a frame. We also find around the entire perimeter of the frame a small railway track in very fine white. That marks each minute, so something quite traditional. Secondly, we will have a date window that is white in color with black font. It is positioned at 3 o'clock and is very readable. That's why you will note that on my version of this GMT Master II once in 710, I no longer have the Cyclops. Originally, like all GMT Masters, the green, it's the Rolex green with the famous Rolex Cyclops that magnifies 2.5 times, I believe. But for me, I don't know, that wart on the GMT Master bothered me a little. So as much as I love it on the Submariner, on the GMT Master II, the Cyclops I wanted to do without it. And so I changed the glass by taking a full Rolex glass. So glass sapphire, I kept the original glass. In case one day we want to sell it, obviously, we don't alter the product, especially not with a Rolex. So I kept the original glass, but I find that this new glass without the Cyclops suits it well. And then it makes it a bit unique because GMT Masters and GMT Master IIs, we have plenty lying around. Almost everyone has one now. Not to mention the fake ones. So I end up with a watch that's almost unique and the date remains very readable. No need for a magnifying glass. Honestly, the date is very, very readable. It also makes a little tribute to its little sister, its cousin, the Tudor Black Bay GMT, which uses a date window. Not missed. So there you go. That's that. Next, the hands used are the traditional Rolex hands, with the hour hand, Mercedes, a large hand for the minutes, and then the small lollipop for the seconds. It should be noted that the GMT hand is red, which brings dynamism and life to the dial a little bit, because all black and silver, it's true that it's quite sober. The red of the GMT hand adds a bit of life to the dial, even though it moves quite slowly since it's over 24 hours. We will also note the large triangle at its end. That's it. For the hand, GMT. Finally, we can talk a little about the glass. The glass, as I mentioned originally, was a sapphire glass without anti-reflective coating, with a Cyclops. It's exactly the same glass that I installed. It's a sapphire glass without anti-reflective coating, but without the Cyclops. So, Bron Rolex I rarely use anti-reflective coatings. There are pros and cons, I've already talked about it, so I won't go over it again. In any case, for aesthetic reasons, I still find that removing the Cyclops gives it a slightly different look, and I like it. The Swiss watch Rolex GMT Master 710 houses an in-house caliber, Rolex 30 Wazan Haute Fille. It is a caliber that was designed in 1989, which is renowned. It has 31 joules and offers a power reserve of 50 hours. So it's quite good. Beating at 28,800 vibrations per hour, this Rolex 3185 movement uses a ratchet on the hour wheel to quickly change the date. What does that mean? It means that to change the date, you will only turn the hour hand, quite quickly by the way, which allows you to jump the date. It's rather well thought out. It should also be noted that this movement is equipped with a Niverox hairspring, which is the only part not made by Rolex in this Swiss automatic movement. The balance is made of glucidor, which is an alloy of beryllium and copper, also a specialty of Rolex. It is a movement that is paramagnetic and does not expand with temperature variations. So, really, this balance has very interesting technical specifications. And we also find a aesthetically and elasto shock protection system in this movement. I am not a watchmaker, so I don't really have an opinion on all this. But one thing is certain, there is still a certain level of research and technicality in the Rolex movement. If these movements are renowned, it's not for nothing. By the way, when my watchmaker showed me the movement because I was curious, I absolutely wanted to see it to be able to take pictures. What happened is that he showed me the different elements. It's true that the movement seems super simple. There are no complications, but in any case, it combines simplicity, robustness, and technical and technological elements. I find that quite impressive. So that's rather what explains why Rolex is also renowned for its movements. On this movement, by the way, we find two complications. On the Rolex 385, we find the date here at 3 o'clock and the second time zone. So, robust and reliable, this movement equips several watches from the Rolex brand, such as references 16570, 16710, 16713, and 16718. In 2005, Rolex will replace this caliber with an evolution, the caliber 3186. So, just like the Rolex Submariner 16610 that I have already presented to you, this Rolex GMT Oyster II comes mounted on a Rolex Oyster bracelet with a deployant clasp. So this bracelet reference 78360 is made of steel. And the end links used are the 501B. It should be noted that it fits perfectly to the case. There is not a millimeter of play. It is really very, very well finished. Overall, this Rolex bracelet is comfortable and the weight is quite reasonable. While I found the bracelet of the Submariner a little light on the GMT, it bothers me less. The clasp snaps shut, but there is no security system, Oyster type lock. So, on the wrist, the watch sits very, very, very well. The comfort is just perfect. The thickness makes the case sit very well on the wrist. So, there's no problem wearing this Rolex 16710 with a shirt, for example, even a fitted shirt. It works, so it's quite nice, giving a touch of both sportiness and elegance. I also use a Jubilee bracelet from time to time, which allows for a slight change to the watch and makes it a bit more classy, if I may say so. So, I use a Jubilee reference 625 10H and end links 502B. The combination of the Jubilee with this GMT Master completely changes the style of the watch. It is also very, very, very nice. So there you have it. Regarding wearing comfort, it's really very, very pleasant to have this watch. Since I've had it, I find it very difficult to wear other watches. I'm not going to hide it from you. I waited a long time for this watch. It was really one of my dreams, and since I've had it, it will never leave me. Let's now talk about the pricing, packaging, and availability of this watch. As always, when looking for a vintage Rolex, you find a bit of everything, both pristine watches and modified, Frankensteined, and tinkered ones. In both cases, you need to be careful. Why? Because a watch that is over 20 years old and is pristine, personally, I find that quite suspicious, so be careful. To avoid issues with watches that might have been assembled from parts, which is somewhat risky, I recommend playing it safe and going through a professional or a recognized seller. Because it would be a shame to end up with a counterfeit or a watch of poor quality or a patched up knockoff. And even among professionals you can find Frankensteins, and that, it's not simple. That's really why you need to take your time for a watch like this, Rolex 66710. You really need to take your time. Regarding the price, this GMT Master II is negotiated between 9,500 and 13,000 euros, depending on the condition of the watch, the bracelet provided, the condition, the bracelet, and the set that comes with it. A version without papers in excellent condition can sell for around 11,500 euros on the second-hand market. Once again, check for consistency between the production year of the watch, with the serial number you will find at the lugs, with the dial, with the endings, with the bracelet reference, and so on. You need to do your research, but above all, the model must be consistent. Then, if you are a fan of vintage watches, I also recommend that you consider perhaps models outside of steel, which are traded at slightly lower prices. That is to say, for less than 10,000 euros, you can have a superb watch. I believe it's the LSS. 153, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not quite sure. Finally, well, with non-steel references, which are cheaper, under 10,000 euros, you will find them. And in addition, they have the advantage of being delivered on a two-tone Jubilee bracelet, which I find just super beautiful. Right now, the trend is the Coke and Pepsi models, especially the Pepsi ones. And as a result, the prices have skyrocketed. So, well, after that, it all depends on what you have. You should know that on many pre-owned models, the inserts might not be the original ones. And as a result, it would be a shame to pay more for a Pepsi with an aftermarket insert than for a Coke with its original insert, so be very careful about that as well. Regarding the packaging, I bought this Rolex 7710 with an original box, the Rolex Oyster box. A traditional green cardboard box that contains the green case for storing the watch inside. Well, nothing exceptional, honestly. I wasn't very impressed by the packaging from that era. It does the job, but nothing exceptional. The box slightly enhances the vintage aspect of the watch because you can clearly see it's a box from another era. Today we have much classier packaging, luxurious, though often too expensive. Rolex, I have other brands even more so. So be very vigilant. When you are looking for a GMT Master II, don't hesitate to take your time to compare, to ask. In order to be as well guided as possible, ultimate dream for many years, I finally managed to acquire this grail that I coveted so much. It wasn't months of searching that I needed, but indeed years of research waiting before I could acquire this superb GMT Master 16710. So it's not a watch that is difficult to find, since it's a model that is abundant on well-known grey market sites. However, it was out of the question for me to spend an excessive amount just to satisfy the speculative needs of certain sellers. That's why it took me many years to be able to find it at the right price compared to the watch's specifications, the condition of the watch, what was provided with it, and the budget I had also set for myself. So, finding this model at the appropriate price was necessary. Quickly, I replaced the Cyclops glass with a flat glass without that little water. I must admit that I really like it. As a result, it makes the watch a little more unique. And in addition, this watch for me, as it was somewhat like the Holy Grail, I wear it daily almost. I almost wear nothing else. I find it very pleasant. Very comfortable on the wrist. Aesthetically, I find it very successful. It has just what it needs where it needs it. The design is very understated, ultra readable. As you can see, I am charmed by this watch. Anyway, if we see so many watches, homage to the GMT Master, it's not for nothing. It's because it is very, very well thought out and designed. Here, Rolex has done a great job, even if we find the basics a little disappointing. We see the inspiration, but I think it's very well done. I think it's very good. The low thickness. By the way, I didn't want a fat lady because I wanted to have the case a little more slim. So this one, I think it must be maybe 1 millimeter less, not even half a millimeter less than the fat lady. Well, it's not much, you might say. But for me, it's important to have a slim watch on the wrist. In any case, this Rolex GMT Master II watch is not a rare automatic watch, and it does not have a high-end watchmaking movement. It's a movement that is robust, reliable, with a good power reserve. But on the other hand, it's not high-end watchmaking, there's no fantasy in it. One can also say that there is something emanating from this watch. So yes, it's a Rolex. Obviously, that secretly influences my love for this watch. Let's not lie to ourselves. For me, having a Rolex, owning a Rolex, was still a major milestone in my life. A dream that I am realizing, so obviously it influences me. But I have always been a fan of GMT watches, and I must say that this Rolex GMT Master Vintage, because it is over 20 years old, it is discreet and goes with everything. In fact, I find it more versatile than, for example, my Breitling Avenger GMT Night Mission, that I have already shown you in a video. So, there you have it. For me, it's hard not to love this Rolex 7710. The video is coming to an end. Don't forget, we are available on www.moonwatch.for. We are also present on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You search for Moonwatch FR all together and you will find us. Above all, if you haven't done so, consider subscribing, activate the little bell, click on the thumbs up. It helps us and also allows YouTube to better reference us to grow our community of fans and enthusiasts. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. By the way, if you own a Rolex GMT Master model or if you plan to acquire one soon, feel free to tell me what you think in the comments. I am also curious to know what you think about having changed the glass to one without a cyclops. Feel free to share below and I will be happy to respond to you. With that, I'll see you soon for the next video. Bye.